Some quick tips on storing your kayaks. Now, this is a question that comes up often, and since I was redoing my setup, I thought I'd go through some of it so that maybe you can take away some tips that might help you when storing your kayaks. Now, this doesn't apply to all kayaks. Some are more delicate than others. Some are built like tanks, but overall, in terms of longer kayaks, recreational kayaks, etc., different types of materials, some of these tips will apply to most of them. So just things to keep in mind if you're looking to put together something to store them away. The first thing I'll say is you don't need to spend a lot of money on your setup. Take, for example, the way I have the outer island. These are foam blocks that are made to go on top of a car, either just on a roof or on cross members. I once randomly saw them on sale at REI. They were doing a warehouse sale, and I think I got them for $5 for the pair. They're fantastic. They're non-slip on the bottom, but pretty much any foam will do, even pool noodles, as long as they're high enough, will do the trick if you need to just put something away. Notice I'm storing it on its side. One of the things you want to try to avoid is hurting the hull in general. So storing them flat is not as recommended as storing them on their side. The other thing too is if you're gonna put them on 2 points of contact like I have here, try to put those usually where the bulkhead is located. So if I put my hand here, I can see the bulkhead is right around here. So that is a strong point in the kayak versus, let's say, somewhere here in the cockpit or all the way out here. The bulkhead will give it more strength in that point. If your kayak doesn't have bulkheads, usually it'll be because it is short enough that it doesn't need them. There's definitely going to be 2 places fore and aft of the cockpit that you can find that would be sturdy enough for you to mount it this way. The other thing to think about is, if possible, making it so that the side of the kayak is off the ground. That way it's resting on those 2 stronger points rather than whatever the widest spot on the kayak is. The idea is you don't want to put pressure on places that might deform the kayak over time. The other thing too, if possible, is just don't leave them in that position for an extremely long period of time. If you can, go and switch it around or move them around, maybe turn them around so that then they're pointing or they're resting on the other side. But just over time, if you can, switching things around will be helpful for it not deforming. Now, another option is to build a rack yourself. This one my dad and I put together with wood, but they sell ready to go hooks, they sell ready to go racks. They sell racks that are on wheels so you can move them around if you wanted to. They sell some that you can stack 2 or 3 kayaks at once. But if you wanted to make one yourself, the way we did this one, it was very simple. We just went with the studs in the wall. It's very strong up against the wall. And then the bottom one is resting right on the floor with a little bit of a lip so that it can't slide out. And then the top one has an arm that is strong enough to stay up there. All of it is padded with foam, and then the next step I'm probably going to be taking, I'm going to be putting a bit of a strap that goes up over the lip, around, and then attaches to the back. I like that idea of them being on a strap because the strap can then conform to the shape of the hull versus it just resting on foam. If you're going to use 2x4s to make your structure or PVC pipes or whatever, definitely look to sand edges down so that if for any reason it's touching the hull, there aren't any sharp edges. Definitely pad them as much as possible. That's also why I'm thinking of doing the straps, because that way they're not going to be touching the structure at all. They're going to be sitting on the straps themselves. Now you'll see some of the ready-made setups. They'll sometimes come with straps in the same fashion. They'll be attached here and they'll be attached to the back of the hook, and that way the strap will adapt to whatever type and shape of hull you happen to have. They make slings that you can just attach to the wall and then slip kayaks in. Once again, if possible, keep them on their side. Here, same thing, I'm trying to go by where the bulkheads are, but it's a rough estimate because sadly I have to go with the studs on the wall for the most strength for this setup. But they're usually not there for so long that it'll make that much of a difference for these, and it's close enough to the bulkheads to be in place. Now the last thing I'll mention is I'm going to be testing out a kayak hanger sling system by the Thai Boss. It comes as a package, and it's a system that you put a sling, like I said, in those two locations of the kayak, and you're able to pull them up and have the kayak up on the ceiling. So keep an eye out for that video. I'll show how to install it, how to use it, and then I'll give just my overview and some tips found on that. And one more anecdote to share is, for years I had been using, back in college, I had an electronic drum set that came with this, it was super cheap, but it came with this ridiculously crappy PVC pipe contraption, and that's what the electronic drum set was attached to. And they broke, but I kept the structure because I thought I could use it for other things, and that became my kayak rack for a very long time. What was great about it is it allowed for two kayaks to be mounted. The PVC pipes were in the right shape to keep both kayaks on their sides, and I had everything padded out so I was easily able to put them on there. My point simply being, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can use materials you already have. You can use things that you have lying around the house, or you can just go to Home Depot and buy any of these materials and put them together. Just the main takeaways, if possible, to keep in mind is, if you can, go under the bulkheads. Try to set them up on their sides, and if you're going to store them long term, maybe if you can, every so often go and move them around a little bit so that they don't always just sit in the same position. That way you'll avoid deformation as much as possible. If you have any tips or any stories that you'd like to share, please comment below. Any further questions, comment as well. Subscribe if you'd like. I'm always trying to put these videos out. I hope that was helpful, and as always, look more for Kayak Hipster. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.